How are we doing today, Shuffle Squad? Now, today we have a very different kind of video. What we're going to be doing is looking at the new cards that have been revealed for Scarlet and Violet EX expansion from a post-rotation perspective with the cards that we know are going to be around during the post-rotation. So this doesn't include the cards that are upcoming because, well, we don't know what they are. Before we get into it, I just want to say thanks to all the sponsors for sponsoring the Shuffle Squad. Click all the links in the description down below if you want to check any of them out and use any of the codes that are available to go ahead and show your support for the Shuffle Squad. Now, with that said, let's get into these cards. So the first card we have here is Arcanine EX. Look at this beaut, huh? What a beautiful card. So let's just go over what it does quickly, and then we can go into the cards that are going to be around to support it. So first off, you can see this little section here on the card, which is going to be called Terrestrial, basically. It's an additional effect similar to ancient traits that are basically returning for terrestrial Pokemon. Now this one is simply, it doesn't take any damage from attacks while on the bench. It's nothing too powerful. It's okay at the end of the day. Now with that said, Terrestrials will probably have different effects depending on the type of terrestrial, so you'll see more of these types of things in the future. I don't think it's only going to be this effect, so it's interesting to see what other effects will be available. Anyway, we have the Raging Claw for 2 fire, 30, does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Now we're not going to focus too much on this attack because, you know, taking damage to do damage isn't an effective strategy, especially on a 2-prizer. We're more focused on this attack here for 3 fire energy, 250 damage, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, which is a really high damage output for an attack with a high cost as well. 3 fire specifically and discard 2. You're going to need some good acceleration to get this going correctly. So let's take a look at some of the cards that are available to help support this. Well, first off, we have this Growlithe itself here with the attack Stoke. Search your deck for 2 basic fire energy cards and attach them to this Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. So it's a great way to get this to 3 energy very quickly, allowing Arcanine to take the KO. Now, one thing to say though, which I did say in my own video covering this on my first impressions of the card, that's not really an effective strategy because you're going to be leaving the Growlithe in the active, ready to be KO'd. 90 HP is not hard to hit, and usually the best time to use this kind of attack is when you're going second, which means going into your opponent's second turn. Odds are they're going to have an option to be able to KO you, but it's still an option you can use. Now we're looking at the Pokemon that's available to support the acceleration side of the Arcanine. We're going to be looking at the regulation mark E and onwards because I believe that is going to be where the rotation is going to be. So if anything behind E is going out of the format, so basically it's pretty much battle styles onwards. If I'm correct on how the rotation is going to occur, I could be wrong, but we're going to go from that basis from here on out. And the only one I could effectively find was Simisteer with bursting power 20, and you can attach 2 basic energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like. Now there's a few requirements. Of course, you need the energy in the hand, so it's very similar to a welder, so to speak, just not through a trainer, through an attack, and it doesn't draw cards, and it's on an active V Pokemon with 210 HP. It is a way to do it, and it's, I guess, a bit better than the Growlithe, but it's still in the active, waiting to be hit. Now, the good thing is it does have that 1 retreat cost, so if it gets hit and doesn't get KO'd, you can easily retreat into your Arcanine. This is more of an early turn thing you can do. It's still not the most effective way. And when it comes to Pokemon, that's really it for now. Unless there's other cards coming out, there's nothing in that format onwards that are fire type or has any sort of additional acceleration fire type wise that really catches my eye. It's not looking great there already. Now, when it comes to damage modification, there's only one card that's really going to help this, and it's a pretty solid partner. In fact, when I spoke about this in my video, everyone brought this up, so it's a bit of a no-brainer. It's going to be that Rapidash with the heat boost, being able to discard a fire energy from your hand and allow your fire Pokemon to do 30 more damage, which is really good because it turns that 250 to 280, which looks to be the range for the stage 1 EXs. With double Rapidash, it's 310, triple, it is 340, going up to the stage 2 EXs that are coming out. And again, this is the only effective damage modification Pokemon-wise that is available for this Arcanine. Again, really solid, but it's not the complete package. Now, when it comes to the trainer support that we are having still in that post-rotation, the first off is Kindler, being able to discard a fire energy from your hand and look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put 2 of them into your hand. Look, if this was any good, it would be seeing play in any sort of fire deck. It isn't. People are just playing research instead because you're getting 7 fresh cards and you're discarding your hand, which doesn't seem to be too much of a big deal right now in the current format. So although this is available, again, it's not really that useful. And the same goes for Candela, being able to draw 2, flip a coin, and attach a fire energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. First off, it's attachment to bench Pokemon, which doesn't mean you can attach to the active. And on top of that, it's flip a coin. it's like the most nerfed welder possible. Again, it's an option, that's why I'm pointing it out, but it's not that great. Now, the other card people are pointing out is Magma Basin, being able to attach a fire energy from your discard pile to one of your bench fire Pokemon and putting 2 damage counters on it. People are really thinking, yes, Magma Basin, Rapidash, that's great for the Arcanine, and that is the best we have so far, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really sustain it. You know, if one of the Arcanines go down and you don't have, you know, at least like 1 energy on the benched one, then good luck, because it's going to be very, very hard to get the other Arcanine out. You're going to start having to use Raihan's. Is Raihan even available? Yes, it is. So you'll be able to use Raihan's, Magma Basin, stuff like that. So you're going to need high copies of Raihan, high copies of Magma Basin to really make this function. There's definitely a deck here, but I don't think it's going to be anything game-breaking unless something else comes out that really gives it a support, a welder, so to speak. So when looking at the support for this Arcanine, it's not too impressive. Also to note, 3 retreat cost. Oof, that's very tough as well. It's a card that looks cool. It's the first terrestrial we've seen, so obviously people are going to be like, oh my god, but I don't think it's going to be that good right now. Again, as I'm going to say this one last time, that is subject to change with the cards released in the future. So the next ones we're going to be looking at is a combination because, of course, of the lightning typing. It is going to be the Magnezone that we have here. It's going to be Miraidon that we have here, and Ampharos EX. Now let's go over what they do. The Magnezone has the Energy Crush for 50 damage, and it does 50 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. And then Pulse Launcher 220 does 30 damage to itself for 2 lightning energy. Now this is a stage 2 with 330 HP, and it is 2 prize cards when you do KO it. So it's effectively VMAX HP for 2 prizes, but it's a stage 2. So of course, stage 2 will have the likes of Rare Candy and all that, nothing too crazy there. And that applies, of course, to the Ampharos. Now, looking at the Miraidon, the big Donnie here taking up the whole screen. It has a very, very good ability, a built-in Battle VIP Pass tandem unit. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for 2 basic lightning Pokemon and put them onto your bench. This thing can search for itself, which is kind of nutty. Now, just to cover the Ampharos, here it is, look at the beauty. It has the Elect Ball, which is a very strange name, unless I don't know if that's the official translation. Elect Ball for 60 damage for 1 lightning energy. Not crazy. 1 lightning, 2 colorless energy. Lightning Tail, 140 damage. You may discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. If you do, it does 100 more damage. So hits 240 damage, which is okay, but still, funnily enough, not even going to most V stars, and of course, probably not going to most stage 1 EXs. So it's still a bit lackluster. So out of the 3, the main one we're really going to be focusing on is this Miraidon. It seems to be the better of the lot. So let's go ahead and take a look at what support is available for them post-rotation. Now, call me a genius because I've cracked the code. No one has thought of this before. It works well with Flaffy. Yeah, no one thought of that at all. Dynamotor, with that, once during your turn, you may attach a lightning energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Now, people are really, really excited about this because Flaffy has just done very well in a recent tournament, showing that it can actually do well in the top tier, making people think, oh, okay, let's just throw Flaffy into it. And of course, combining with that Miraidon's ability, you can very easily just search 2 Mareep and just whack them down onto your bench. And then from that point on, you could constantly develop a very strong board, which is exactly what Flaffy needs. Being able to get a very, very comfortable setup to allow you to accelerate energy into play. Now, not only do we have the acceleration, but we also have damage modification with the likes of Regieleki. If you really want to bring that 220 to 250, maybe even 280, a couple of Regieleki will do that. But now you're really taking up board space, so you really got to pick and choose how you play this. But it's nice to know that we have that option available. And on top of that, we have one more, which I think is not going to see much play, but I'm just going to say it for the sake of the fact that it is an option. That's the Zapdos from Pokemon Go, being able to buff the damage of your basic lightning Pokemon. Basic, emphasize on that, for 10 more damage. Now, it's a lot easier to get out than something like a Regieleki because it's just simple, you know, basic Pokemon. Miraidon's going to search out like that. But then again, Regieleki, you can just go ahead and search for the Regieleki Vs with Miraidon, and it does the same thing. Why did my thing just log out? Don't know what happened there, but anyway, I made my point. So moving to the trainers now, we have Stormy Mountains available, getting an additional lightning Pokemon down to the bench. So you can basically just get a Miraidon out and a Stormy Mountains, and you effectively have a guaranteed 3 benched Pokemon from the deck straight onto their bench. Absolutely ridiculous search for basic Pokemon. It's nuts. So this is definitely a no-brainer. Imagine just having a Miraidon and being able to just get 3 Mareep down like that with no effort at all. That's why people are hyped about this card. And another trainer we have available is Spark. Again, just pointing out for this fact that it is actually possible. It draws cards. It can go ahead and accelerate the energy, but But again, the same still applies to the prior one. It's not that great, but I just wanted to include it because again, it is something that you can use. And finally, one other card to note is the Beach Court. Probably will be played over the Stormy Mountains. I've seen a lot of people build their decks ahead of time now already on Twitter, and a lot of people are playing like 2 or 3 of these and like a 1 Stormy Mountains. The reason why this is being played over it is because it has the effect, the retreat cost of each player's basic Pokemon is 1 colorless less. Now, Miraidon, if you go back up to it here, has 1 retreat cost, as you can see. Just bring it down to 3 retreat, and that's really, really important because Miraidon's attack prevents you from using it the next turn. So if you are getting attacked with Miraidon, go ahead and get Beach Court, get enough energy in the discard pile, accelerate to another one on the bench, and just pivot, attack, without any sort of cost at all, which really sells the deck. So this is going to be a big part, and that's another buff that you can use in the Miraidon deck. Now, when it comes to special energy, there's really not much behind it. Of course, a lot of the good special energy, speed lightning, all that kind of stuff, they're rotating out, if I'm correct. So there's nothing much left in regards to special energy. Knowing that, they probably are going to release some in the near future. I'll be surprised if they don't. Anyway, what is available is double turbo energy for the Ampharos, because the Ampharos is lightning to colorless. So you could go ahead and use that in the Ampharos, which is fine, but it reduces the Ampharos damage output, if I'm correct, to 220, which means you're basically better off just playing a Miraidon at that point. But yeah, I thought I'd point that out. It's there. It's something that's usable in Ampharos EX. Now, the next Donny we have here is this Koraidon EX. Very, very similar to Miraidon, of course, but the ability is very, very interesting this time. Dino Cry. Once during a turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting energy cards from your discard pile to your basic fighting Pokemon in any way you like. If you use this ability, your turn ends. And it has exactly the same attack as Miraidon, just for the 2 fighting energy instead of the 2 lightning. Just basically 220, can't use it the next turn. Now, a couple of important things to note here. First off, the ability. I don't think it's that great. The only time this is truly useful, unless you're playing a deck that actually tries to accommodate this ability, is turn 1. And getting 2 fire energy, fighting, fire, not fire, just 2 fighting energy from your hand or deck or whatever into the discard pile turn 1 is extremely difficult. So it doesn't seem to be that great. I always compare it to Zacian, and Zacian is still about right now, and it's not seeing any play. Zacian has a better ability and an attack that is pretty much identical, with even more support than is available for this card, as you'll see. So it's very difficult to see how this will see much play. But with that said, there's still some cards you can play to help support a strategy of using that ability. The first, of course, being Diancie, preventing boss's orders from being used on the Koraidon. So if it's on the bench, you know, it can go ahead, accelerate energy. You're not worried about being hit or anything down that line. It doesn't mean you have to give up a prize, though, which is still a cost nonetheless. Well, not guaranteed give up a prize, but most of the time you'll be giving up a prize. But it's something you can use in that. I guess you can go down that road of going ahead and putting 4 Diancies, 4 Koraidons, and just trying to make a deck that's all about accelerating to Koraidon and using it. It's something you can do, and there's some additional cards in here as well that actually support that kind of strategy or archetype, so to speak. Now, before we go to the rest of the support, most of it also applies to this Lucario EX as well, so I'm just going to be showing it here. It has the fighting colorless low kick, 60 damage, fighting colorless Aurora Sphere, 160. This was 150. Bloody, I imagine it was 150. It does 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so it is pretty much the same 10 damage less than the Inteleon VMAX attack. Even though that hasn't seen much play, this could do something. I think it's an okay attack. We'll have to see how things turn out, but it's nothing too special, nothing too eye-catching, and also very important to note, 260 HP is very, very low. So that's something to note as well. Now, when it comes to energy acceleration, you have a couple of options, but it's not the best. Now, obviously, you don't really need to do this. You know, this is more like if you really are in a dire situation, or if you don't get the energy of discard power and you don't manage to use the ability, then you have the likes of Medichan here being able to go ahead and use Battle Step, 1 fighting energy, 50 damage, search your deck for 2 fighting energy cards, attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way that you like. So it's just simple, 2 energy from the deck straight to the bench. And again, it's the 1 prize you're giving up, so it's not terrible, and it is a pretty decent effect, although I don't think it's going to be anything incredible. It's just a card you can play. And the same applies to Claydol. Again, having a very interesting ability. A very strong one, but with a very big downfall. Being able to accelerate as many fighting energy cards from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way that you like, but you have to play no supporter cards. So unless you're playing a very gimmicky deck, this ain't that great. I've just realized I got the wrong screen on as well. It's meant to look like that, sorry. Now, when it comes to trainer cards, there are some cards you can use effectively, Professor Burnett being one of them, just guaranteeing the 2 fighting and discard pile. Although it's a supporter card that you're going to play, it's not ideal. You're better off just having a bunch of energy and researching it that way. It does the same effect and draws your cards effectively. But it's something you can use. I just thought, you know, in a little fun deck playing Diancie, Burnets, and Koraidons, it's something you can do. So I thought, you know, might as well point it out here because it's a fun, different way of doing it, although I don't think it's going to be anything too broken. You've also got Grant available for damage buff, being able to, I believe it's discard 2 cards from your hand, and then you can put it back into your hand, I think, from the discard pile. And then when you play it, they do your fighter Pokemon do 30 more damage, bringing Koraidon to 250, and also being an effective way to get to fighting Pokemon in the discard pile. But again, it's a supporter card, so it's a one-off. You can play this as a one-off, but again, it's damage modification, it supports the acceleration, you can see it's quite synergetic, but again, I don't think it's going to completely change the dynamic of the deck. Another card that could be very useful if you just throw a cheeky Oranguru in there is Gutsy Pickaxe. Being able to reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a fighting energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon. So this is straightforward acceleration from the top of the deck, so long as it's a fighting energy, so that's why I mentioned the Oranguru. If I'm correct, Oranguru will be available. Oh no. It's not. Well, in that case, you just shoot it in the dark then. What's even worse is there's no special energy that can even support it further. Maybe you could talk about V-Guard energy, but other than that, there's not much there. So you can see why people aren't backing this card so much right now. But again, subject to change. Now, we've got 2 more EXs to cover, one of them being Mimikyu. Let's just go through what it does. It has the Void Return for 1 Psychic, 30 damage. You may switch this Pokemon, one of your bench Pokemon. It's a hit and run attack, 30 damage. No. Then you got Psychic and 2 colorless energy burst, 30 damage. This is 30 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. It's an attack we already have. We have it with the Mew V. That has come out a decent while ago, but it will be gone post-rotation, so I guess it kind of replaces that. If I'm correct, it goes post-rotation. I'm pretty sure it does. So it's just a continuation of that. One of the biggest criticisms, which I kind of agree with here, is there's a lot of repeating effects and attacks being thrown into these, but again, these are kind of like the starter type versions of a new era. So it's just going to, I think it might just be like that naturally anyway to, I don't know. When a new set comes out, you usually do get a lot of, especially when it's a new series, then usually you get a lot of basic attacks and stuff like that, and a couple cards in there that's very different, like the Miraidon, but from that point on, you'll see some very interesting things coming up. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think that's just the way it is. But yeah, this is one of those cards that's a victim of it. Basic, nothing too crazy attacks at the end of the day. So, but there is support for it, so we'll just go through them briefly. The first being the Shadow Rider VMAX engine. You can go ahead and use this, but there's better options for it. So again, it's an option. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, look, you literally got an SB on VMAX that does 60 damage for all each energy in play. Like, bro, it's a lot better. So let's not even think about that. You got Zacian V to go ahead and use Roar of the Sword to accelerate 1 Psychic from the deck, put it straight onto that Mimikyu, but it ends the turn. Not the best ability. It can be used, and it is useful, but especially with the Mimikyu's free energy attachment, it's still a bit, I don't know. The fact that it ends the turn, look, it's still useful, so I've got to point it out, but again, I don't think it changes anything. God, I keep forgetting to change the screen, I'm sorry. So Cresselia, that's one that could actually be quite nice to use, being able to go ahead and search for free energy and attach them to the Mimikyu if you're going second, but it's only reliant on that effect, so it's not very consistent, I guess you could say is the best way to describe it, but it has seen play with Shadow Rider before, so again, you can do that and just get a load of acceleration onto that Mimikyu early doors, but other than that, that's really what it's going to do. And with that said, the only one left that's really worth noting is the Curlier Gardevoir engine, being a very draw-heavy engine. I mean, the Curlier being able to discard draw 2, and then Gardevoir being able to look at the top 2 and accelerate energy you find there. It's something you can do. It allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and attach any basic energy you find there to your Pokemon in play. If not, you can just get put the other ones in your hand. So it's either draw, accelerate, both very, very positive effects that we all look for in pretty much every deck. And again, it's good, but especially with the likes of Oranguru rotating and stuff like that, it's not going to be as reliant. So it's something you can do, but then again, you know, there you are. I think it's switching cups available actually. Okay, it is legal, but it's not as reliable as Guru, but it's something you can do at least, right? Now, when it comes to trainers, you've got the lovely Fog Crystal, of course, just being able to search for either Psychic Energy or the basic Pokemon, very, very strong for Psychic decks. And to buff up damage output, Old Cemetery is also going to be legal, being able to put 2 damage counters on any energy attached to the non-Psychic Pokemon in play. And finally, because it's Psychic double colorless, you can go with the Turbo as well. Last but not least, we've got the Cycloizer, the Cycler Lizard. It has the Power Run for 1 colorless, 30 damage, search the deck for basic energy card and attach it to this Pokemon. And we have Full Throttle, which is 3 colorless, 180. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn, so it's pretty much a worse version of the Miraidon and of the Koraidon attack. But because it is colorless, it has all acceleration options available, apart from those that specify the typing in that acceleration. So for example, Frostmoth can only accelerate to water Pokemon, so any Pokemon that specifies the type, all other acceleration available will be available to this. Flaffy and stuff like that will be used here. The only real notable Pokemon for this card would be Dunsparce, just removing the weakness. So that's really it. Fighting type doesn't seem to be that great right now. I don't think it's even going to be great with the looks of it so far. So again, it's something you can do, but you're literally scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point. Now, what is great is it can use all of the special energy that are colorless in the format. So you've got double turbos, you've got gift energies, you've got your V-Guards energies and stuff like that. So these are all usable in this deck, but then again, you know, there's a deck out there that's already doing that. Lugia. So we don't need to really go through that too deeply now, do we? Oh, I did forget to mention Sharon's Care is also available, but there's just so many other better options for it. So it's available, it's an option, but I don't think this card is going to be very good. And there you have it. That is basically looking at the post-rotation for these new cards coming out and how they can be used using the cards that we currently have that will be available in that post-rotation. So it's very, very interesting to look at. It's very clear, as bright as day. This is the card right now. This is the one that's going to do well. Lightning type is very strong. It's going to continue to be strong post-rotation. It's a very relevant weakness with the Lugia. So it seems like we're going into the Lightning era, and this may be a big part of it. So that's the obvious one. All the other ones are pretty cool, but lacking something here or there that maybe could be dealt with in the future. But for now, they're all kind of meh, apart from Miraidon, which is why everyone's so excited about it. But yes, that's having a look at all of the cards that can support this post-rotation that are available right now. We're going to go and leave it there. Thanks everyone for watching the video. Do leave a like if you did enjoy. Please do subscribe for more. But most importantly, take care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next one, Squadians. Bye-bye.
The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, the best place to buy any trading card game product online. Visit atlastcg.com and at the checkout screen, make sure to use code TSS12 to save an unbeatable 12% off your entire order. Atlas Collectibles will ship your product anywhere in the world, so make sure you're taking advantage of the 12% savings with TSS12. And if Pokemon is not your thing, don't worry. Go to atlastcg.com and see all the other amazing trading card game products they have there to offer.
The Shuffle Squad is partnered with PTCGO Store to provide our community with the best access to Pokemon TCG codes. They have codes available 24/7, instant email delivery, and you can save 5% off by using code TSS5. If you're a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, you'll have access to a special code that gets you 10% off. So what are you waiting for? Use code TSS5 today and save 5% on your next order of codes on any codes available at PTCGOstore.com.
Pokex Word, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired puzzles. New puzzles are posted every day, and they recently launched a new Guess That Pokemon puzzle, which is a ton of fun to play. Go check them out at PokexWord.com and be sure to follow them on Twitter for your chance to win a ton of PTCGO codes every month.
Check out the Late Night Series Season 6, brought to you by myself, Zach Lesage, and the Shuffle Squad. We're going to be running a bunch of sick events for the Pokemon community, and they start on August 30th. So one thing you might be noticing here is that there's an EU time and an NA time. We have one at 12 p.m. Eastern, which works out to about 5 p.m. in London. And then we have one at 7 p.m. Eastern, which should help out a lot of players on the West Coast play in this event. That being said, we still have a lot of cool things going on. Expect similar prizing that we've had for other Late Night Series events. Expect better staffing, expect better tournament experiences, and of course we do have a stream going up for this season as well, and I will be streaming the event on Twitch. That being said, we have the whole season up on the Play Limitless website. Late Night 51 all the way through 70 runs until we hit the Invitational on November 5th. So check that out, sign up today, and support Zach Lesage Events and the Shuffle Squad. See you there.